Hello, interwebs. I'm back from the dead yet again to talk nonsense, and today you are getting an edited down sneak peek into last week's stream because, yes, I stream now every Sunday from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Time, in fact. If you have the energy or time and want to listen to me talk about Doctor Who and whatever else my lack of heart desires, feel free to stop by. But anyway, enough of the ads. Let's get into my ramblings, shall we?
I don't like the 10th Doctor. I haven't made that any kind of secret. I've made it very clear from jump that I don't like the 10th Doctor very much. For a long time, I didn't like the 10th Doctor for different reasons that I don't like him now. For a very, very long time, I didn't like the 10th Doctor because I don't like Lord of the Flies. And that may sound crazy, but I promise you, it's not as crazy as you think it is. So the Lord of the Flies, for those that somehow don't know, is a story about these kids, these like little private school boys who get stranded on an island. And kind of the whole point of the book is how if you take these kids out of a controlled environment and just threw them on an island, eventually it would devolve into chaos and they would all kill each other. That's more or less the premise. Eventually, we all succumb to our animalistic urges or whatever the fuck. It's stupid. I don't like it. I don't like it for a few reasons. One, it's just very pessimistic. Like, oh, we're all savages deep down. Like, it's pessimistic. The other reason I don't like it is because it's kind of dumb. Like, assuming any human is, or any creature for that matter, is predisposed to be anything is just like really weird. That's just not a thing. That's not a thing that happens. And so when people like try and view humanity through this lens of like, oh, deep down we're all animals, deep down we're all awful, I always just view it as like very like stupid. I don't like that. And people would often say that the 10th Doctor is the most human of the Doctors. And I always thought that they meant it in the sense of the Lord of the Flies. Because the 10th Doctor is by far like the most volatile, the most emotional, the most egotistical. At least of the modern era Doctors. I don't know, maybe there's a classic era Doctor that's worse. But like in terms of the modern era Doctors, that's kind of the whole thing about 10 is that he's like volatile and overly emotional and, you know, all these things. And so I thought when people are saying, oh yeah, 10 is the most human of the Doctors, that's what they meant. They were saying that 10 is the most human of the Doctors because he acts in this particular way that is human because we're all monsters and we're all animals and yada yada. That was what I always assumed. And because of that, I always thought that 10, like, I hated him because of this mentality. Because I think that's a dumb mentality, and I think Russell playing into it would be dumb. That's not what he did. I'm gonna get into that. That's not what happened. But I think, not only do I think it would be, like, just dumb for personal reasons, I also think it would be dumb for Doctor Who. Because Doctor Who is a very, like, yeah, it has a lot of episodes which are just like, stop global warming, humans are dicks, yada yada. But it also has, like, a main thing about Doctor Who is, like, hopefulness. Like, a lot of Doctor Who episodes, even, like, the ones that are the most sad when it comes to its view of humanity, like, there's always, like, some kernel of humans are not this bad. Like, we have hope at the end of the day that humans will get better. Because it's a family show, and you don't want to be super pessimistic for no reason. And so the idea that Doctor Who was pushing the mentality of Lord of the Flies of, like, all humans are secretly evil, it just kind of, it pissed me off. And so I viewed 10 as being worse because of that. And I've since come to realize that that was wrong. Not viewing 10 as bad, but viewing 10 as bad for that specific reason. I need to keep emphasizing that, because I don't like 10, and I'm going to explain that. But right now we're talking about this. So, when people were saying that 10 was more human, I was assuming one thing. And it turns out that I was very, 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 very wrong. When people say 10's more human, I don't think anymore that what they mean is the Lord of the Flies thing. I've come to realize that listening to them closer, what they really mean is that, like, 10 passes for human better than any of the other Doctors. Like, if you were to put all the Doctors into, like, a crowd of humans, 10 would be the one who, like, passes the most easily. compared to all the other doctors, because he understands social cues. He's very charismatic. He has a tendency to just not get distracted as easily. He thinks about what he says and how it sounds a lot more than the other doctors do. And he's very good at brushing past like the weird stuff he says by just like being very like casual. You know, all these things that make him pass as a person better, because it is, he's not acting as alien by not caring / not knowing social cues, or being more socially aware, being less impatient and blunt than other doctors. He's just better at acting human, unlike those other doctors who don't act human. And some of you might be noticing what I'm putting down here. And for those of you that haven't, don't worry, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. This is just ableism. It's just ableism. I don't think it's malicious or intentional ableism, but that's what it is. See, media has this habit of portraying neurodivergent traits as making you less human, like not understanding social cues, struggling with empathy, expressing emotions differently. I can keep going. There's plenty of examples of traits that for some reason people stick on to aliens and robots and say that's what shows that they aren't human, because they don't understand this or they don't do this. It's really dumb and it's really bad and it's just ableism. And you may be saying, well, obviously that's why people were saying it. Like, obviously the 10th Doctor acts more normal, and that's what people meant. And how did you miss this? If you think it's ableism, how did you miss it? And the answer is, I don't know. I mean, the Doctor Who fandom is kind of full of people who are neurodivergent. So I don't know, maybe I just assumed that when they said it, they wouldn't have been referring to that, because like they know that these traits do not inherently make you not human. Mainly because understanding social cues and being better at empathizing and all that other shit isn't human things. Like, it's something you have to learn. It's not an inherent part of your being. So like maybe that's it. Maybe I just overestimated the Doctor Who fandom. And like really that's my fault. I've been in fandom culture since I was like 9. I really should have known better. Never put your faith in a fandom. But I don't know, I really thought that they just meant that the Doctor's more of an asshole, and so therefore he's more human, rather than the Doctor just acts less weird, and that makes him more human. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is what people meant. Maybe people really did just mean that humans are inherently worse. And they actually were going with the Lord of the Flies meaning. And I'm actually overthinking it so badly that I managed to trick myself into assuming that the Doctor Who fandom may have some ableism shit to work through. I mean, that would be the good ending, I guess, for the fandom. Be a bad ending for Russell, because I would be right back in the same spot where I'm going, Russell, why would you do this? It would be a really bizarre writing decision. But for the Doctor Who fandom, it would be the happier outcome. But yeah, with that being said, I feel like I should talk a bit about how I feel about 10 now. Now that I understand that he is not meant to be more human in the Lord of the Flies way. My opinion on 10 is it hasn't changed, but rather evolved recently. I really don't like 10, and that hasn't changed. But I realized that the reason I don't like 10 isn't because he's badly written. I don't like 10 because I think he's obnoxious. But I think he's obnoxious because he's rather well written. And that's interesting. That's an interesting change. So in order to understand why I think that 10 is bad and well written. I need to talk a little bit about better doctors. Mainly 9. So 9, his entire story arc was about escaping war mentality. Like, the Ninth Doctor left the war, but he never actually did. Like, he wanted to. He didn't want to be in the war mindset, but you put the slightest bit of pressure on him, and he's right back there. And so his entire arc that season is about learning to get out of that mindset, to stop thinking about things in a strictly war general utilitarian, how can I make sure the least amount of people die possible without letting it get to me emotionally. And his entire arc is about learning to, get out of that mindset, to be a person again. Whether that person is selfish or cowardly or not, you still deserve the right to actually be a human being and let your emotions affect you. As opposed to being this, like, unfeeling war general robot. And so with 10 immediately following after him, what's 10's character arc? Now, originally, what I've heard people say a lot was 10's character arc was about him, like, he turns into a human, like, he tries to reclaim the world, like, Earth, as his home. And, like, it's about him trying that and failing. And then 11 is about him, becoming more alien and trying to, like, claim space as his home or whatever. And both of these things don't work, and he needs to find a happy, like, middle ground, essentially. And in reality, I don't think that's what 10's arc is at all. The way that I would describe 10's arc is that he is the relapse doctor. And what do I mean by that? I mean that 10 really, really wants to go back to normal, to go back to how he was before the war. And he just can't manage it. Mainly because it's just too soon. And he hasn't unpacked everything that happened, really. And not in, like, a 14 go to therapy sort of way. I more mean in, like, he hasn't even given himself a chance to move forward. He really just wants to move back. He wants to pretend that none of it ever happened and go back to the way things used to be. Go back to how he used to be. He hates being the way that he is now. But the thing is that because he hasn't actually done any of the work, because he's constantly just trying to go back to the way things used to be, he's also constantly relapsing and going back into that war mindset that 9 tried to leave, and, like, being these volatile whirlwind of emotions all the time. And it just results in a person who's very unpleasant to kind of be around. And it's not an intentional thing. Like, I don't think 10 goes out of his way to be a dick on purpose. I think it's just that he's kind of fucked up right now. And him being kind of fucked up isn't the problem. I don't like 10 as a person. And I think that he is not framed quite right based on the way that his character arc plays out. I think that he's way too often framed as, like, a paragon who is, like, morally good and just trying his best, as opposed to this fucked up, traumatized person who is trying his best. Because I think that is much more accurate. He kind of treats a lot of people like shit. Like, 10 doesn't treat most of his companions well. Like, I think Donna is probably the one he treats the best. That's not saying much, because those two do pretty consistently scream at each other. I don't think he treats Rose very well. I don't think 10 treats any of his companions, like, all that great. I mean, he treats Martha the worst by far. I mean, if you don't count Mickey, obviously. But, like, in terms of companions, Martha got the shortest end of the stick. feel like I should have some kind of conclusion for my 10th Doctor thing, but I don't really know what to say. I don't think the 10th Doctor is written badly anymore. I used to think he was written badly. Now I don't. I just think that the 10th Doctor is written to be slightly obnoxious in a way that's realistic given what he's gone through. But that does not mean that it is pleasant to watch. Like, just because I understand why he does the things he does doesn't mean that it is a pleasant experience watching it. Like, the 10th Doctor acting like a dick to people all the fucking time isn't suddenly made better because I understand him. It's not suddenly made better because I empathize with him, because I also empathize with the people he's being shitty to most of the time. And, like, I just think that, I don't know, I just think that the 10th Doctor bothers me a lot, regardless of the intentions. Like obviously I understand what they were going for now better than I did before, but I don't think that suddenly fixes all of the issues that I had with him, just because I understand the storyline better. So yeah, hopefully that was coherent. I doubt it.